Welcome to all Caribbean entrepreneurs. If you've been ready and waiting to take your business digital and get paid online while you sip something strong on the beach, this podcast is for you. We'll hear from the Caribbean's finest entrepreneurs on topics like e-commerce, business development, brand building, social media, their wins and failures. This is the only place in the region helping you navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. This is Digipreneur FM. And now, let's give it up for the Digiboss himself, Mr. Keron Rose.
Thank you to everybody tuning in to another episode of the Digipreneur FM podcast. And I'm back. It is your boy, Mr. Rose. DJ, can you fade us all the way out? Can you fade us out? Because we gotta talk to the people. It is Sunday, June 30th, and this is episode number 167. Yeah, we're up early on a Sunday morning. You know, I just feel like, man, there's just so much happening. There's so much to talk about, and you know, I woke up this morning and UFC 303 went down last night, and I woke up early in the morning to go in, you know, and watch the fights. My goodness, if you're into UFC, Alex Poatan Pereira, my goodness. Whew, beautiful match, beautiful knockout, beautiful match. And, you know, I find these days I am watching more and more about, I'm watching more how companies like the UFC and the WWE are telling stories. And sometimes, you know, the build-up in the stories can be bigger than the fight. But it's the storytelling and the build-up that makes you want to really see, you know, a lot of these fights. And WWE, it's really all about the storytelling and how they put these things together. And I just find myself, you know, I haven't watched WWE since the Attitude Era in the 90s, and you know, I probably signed out right around 2005. And it was never interesting for me. And I feel like, over the last year, mainly because of TikTok and the short form clips of the stories, I was like, I started to get back into WWE. Now I'm not back to the point of watching it full time. However, I am watching, I'm subscribed to WWE on all social media channels, and I'm watching the clips, and if something is really, good, I might go and watch the full match online. And now WWE signed an agreement with Netflix, and they've given the green light for WWE to go rated R. And what a perfect time, because that deal, and now coming to Netflix, that might be the thing that brings me back into the WWE full time. And again, it really wasn't about the actual wrestling. It was the storytelling, because I know there's a lot of different wrestling companies, and they put on some of the craziest matches, right? But again, it's the storytelling that kind of just drew me back in. And now, again, first step one is, and now I'm subscribed to WWE on all social media channels, and I get to see the pieces of the storytelling in the short form, and that short form storytelling has led me to start watching some of the longer form content. So I watched WrestleMania 40 the other day, and it was amazing. It was epic. Everything about that was epic. And now that it's going to be more accessible with the agreement with Netflix, it's going to be rated R. It's going to be a lot more edgy. There's going to be a lot more things happening. They may have just converted me back into a WWE consumer, right? And again, I say, I'm just seeing more and more of the storytelling behind a lot of things. And it continues to get me thinking about, how do I start to really incorporate the storytelling aspect into what I do, right? I feel for the past couple of years, I've always been a resource. Like, I've really doubled down on becoming the resource for, first it was with mobile, with smartphones and that technology, and then shifting over into e-commerce and digital marketing and digital strategy. I've really focused down on becoming that resource, becoming that hub where all things somehow connect back to one of my platforms, right? But now I am, I'm amazed and I'm really engulfed in the storytelling of, MMA and WWE. And now there are some things I'm looking at equipment wise, and I'm trying to figure out, like I said, how do I start to tell more stories? Because being the resource, I think, is the foundation, right? I think that is so important, and I think that's where most businesses, especially in the Caribbean, struggle. Like, I don't think most businesses try to become that thought leader or that go-to resource within their space, all right? And I think that's the building blocks. And I think if you can do that and do that well, I think you're good. I think you're good. And if you only do that and do that extremely well, I think you're good. But if you can build upon that, and now you can start getting your storytelling in the mix, I think it adds another level. I think what happens is we have a lot of people who are, just trying to tell stories or show the glitz and the glam, but it doesn't really lead anywhere, right? Which is why, we laugh a lot about, all of the stories that we see on LinkedIn, because a lot of people are just coming on social media and they're just telling wild stories, and some of it is so nonsensical that you're like, man, get out of here, right? However, we love to hear the stories from actual thought leaders and practitioners that we know what they're talking about. If you're somebody where I don't even think you're good at what you do, or I don't really know what you do, I see your title, but I don't really know what you do, and I don't even know if you're good at it. When you're out here telling these stories, I question whether or not it really happened, because a lot of it just doesn't even sound logical. If you get what I'm saying, right? But when a real tactician, when a real skilled person in their space, when they start to tell stories, you're like, wow, you're really engulfed, because that they're about their business and they can actually do the things that they're doing. And when they start to now give us stories, you're like, you're really into it, right? So I really believe being that thought leader, actually having those skills and being that resource, that hub, I think sets the foundation. And I think the next level is if you can start to now build upon that with your storytelling, with how you put out your content and how you formulate it and how you show up, I think is going to be critical. So I personally feel like when it comes to being a resource, I feel like I really have that down packed. But now I'm just, like I said, WWE, MMA have really got me thinking about the storytelling aspects, and just how that adds so many different layers to what is being done. Because there's a lot of guys in WWE who you're like, their matches are okay, their skill sets are okay, but man, oh man, can they tell a story and they can draw you in, right? But then you get drawn in, you watch the match, you're like, the match was okay. However, when you get people who can tell a story and really go out there and put on a match, my goodness, they're unstoppable. And, again, like I said, that has me really thinking about, what I can do. And I'm looking at different tools that are going to help me be better at telling stories. And that kind of goes that's probably a good segue into the topic that I want to dive into today. And that topic is why now is the best time to be a solopreneur, especially in the Caribbean, right? Especially in the Caribbean. It is an amazing time to be a solopreneur because back in the day, you really needed to have human resources for every single thing you wanted to do. And you really couldn't do much on your own. But now with the tools and the technology that's available to us, now that you're adding AI into the mix, and now that, again, the tech that is coming out allows you to do so much, you can do more on your own. And when you start to master your workflows, it doesn't take a long time to produce next level work. Now, you don't need to be a master at everything. You can still outsource work, and you can outsource work to other solopreneurs, right? But you can do so much internally now that I think now is, probably the greatest time to ever be a solopreneur. And I really want to dive into that with this episode. I'm just talking about, I want to get into more storytelling, and I'm looking at tools. And one of the things that I'm looking at is, so I currently have, I have two cameras that I use, right? I have the DJI Pocket Osmo 3 that I do video with. And even that, I got it at the beginning of the year, and I've been using it heavy earlier on, and then I kind of got away from it, but now I need to get back heavy into my video content, right? Again, storytelling. But then I also have a Sony a6100 that I bought a couple of years ago, and honestly, I've just never really done anything more than have it on a tripod on my desk to do all of my video recording or my live streaming or my interview work, on my desktop, right? I've never even took it off the tripod and gone outside and took photos. But I've been looking at the new camera systems out of Fujifilm, and that Fujifilm X100 version 6. I like what Fuji is doing with all of the recipes for their photography, right? And the recipes is kind of like filters. It's kind of like professional filters. And it allows you to do pretty much in-camera editing, essentially. And you're getting some insane level quality of pictures that you don't, after you've taken a shot, and it really is called recipes. Like Fujifilm has I forget what it's called, but it's called recipes. And I think what it allows you to do is there's hundreds of recipes that Fujifilm has created from their community, and you can download the different recipes, and each recipe gives you different looks for your photography, right? And it's just insane, absolutely insane, the quality of photos that are coming out. And again, allows you to tell more stories, different stories than you would on your camera phone. Like with your phones, I mean, our iPhones and our Google Pixels and our Samsung S24s take amazing photos. But what Fujifilm is doing with photography right now is next level, all right? And especially if you're not a professional photographer, again, I say the technology is allowing us to do more on our own. So now with my Pocket 3, I don't necessarily have to hire a videographer to get amazing quality. When you have things like CapCut for desktop, again, you can edit and you can do some amazing editing right on CapCut for desktop. And you can also now get one of Fujifilm's camera systems and look into the Fujifilm recipes. And now you can do some amazing photography where you don't have to hire a photographer. Now, this is not to say you don't need a videographer, an editor, or a photographer. There's always going to be a need for that. When you really want professional stuff, that's the time you go to these people, right? But if you are somebody who needs to create content on a high quality basis, as best of a quality as you can, and turn these things around at a high pace, getting yourselves some of these tools allow you to do more on your own. And again, it's going to be way more cost effective It's going to be way more cost effective, period, and faster turnaround times to get what you want, right? So anyways, why is the best time to be a solopreneur right now? Well, let me start things off by giving you a bit of a quote from this was an interview with Alexis Ohanian, who is the co-founder of Reddit, and he was interviewing OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, right? And Sam said that we are on the cusp of seeing $1 billion unicorn with less than 10 employees. He also said that he has a betting pool with his tech CEO group, predicting when a founder is going to reach $1 billion valuation without hiring anyone, right? He's like, it's not going to happen, right now, but he's like, it's going to happen. And it's because you're just able to do so much on your own now, right? You don't have to hire employees if you don't want to. And I think that's a really good thing, especially when you're looking at places like the Caribbean. So let's kick things off by saying, defining what is a solopreneur, because I know some people are probably don't know what a solopreneur is, but let me get that out the way. Essentially, what a solopreneur is an entrepreneur who operates their business single-handedly without any employees or partners. This is a type of a business model and an operational structure. Solopreneurs are responsible for every aspect of their business, from product creation, marketing, to customer service and financial management. And again, the emphasis here is on being a solopreneur. Now, again, you don't have to take on everything by yourself, but you don't have to hire employees. You can outsource aspects of your business to other people. So you might not want to manage your books. And again, you can outsource that to another solopreneur that only deals with taxes. All right. And I don't want this to be confused with a digital nomad. So what is a digital nomad? I spoke about this at length in the previous episode, but a digital nomad refers to someone who uses telecommunications tech to earn a living and more generally conduct their life in a nomadic manner. This term focuses more on the lifestyle and the ability to work remotely from various locations, often traveling from place to place. Digital nomads can be employed by companies, they can freelance, or they could run their own businesses as solopreneurs, right? So the reason why, my brand is called Digipreneur, right? Digital entrepreneur, is because it really is a mix of being a digital nomad, but also a solopreneur. I do everything myself, and what I don't do, I could always jump on Upwork or Fiverr and hire somebody to do something for me that I can't do or don't want to do, or I can hire another independent resource to do something on my behalf. Again, whether I can't do it or don't want to do it, right? So being a digital entrepreneur, digipreneur, basically means that how I run my business, I am a solo act, and I am able to do my business from anywhere that there is an internet connection, anywhere in the world. I don't have to be in any one place to conduct my business, right? And now with how the world is shaping up, where, cost of living is rising everywhere you are, and the dollar in your home country might not go as far as it used to, and what more and more and more people. I really believe that 2024 is seeing the rise of digital entrepreneurs because more countries, as I said in the previous episode, are rolling out visas this year than ever before because they want to boost their tourism sector by bringing in more digital nomads to come to their countries and work, because they're going to be earning foreign currency but spending it all locally, right? And that is going to allow you to live a better quality of life because you can earn a higher currency and live in an economy that has a much lower cost of living, where now you might not have to work as much and your dollar is going to go further. Or again, you could live a modest lifestyle, a luxurious lifestyle. You have more flexibility because your money is going a lot further in that country, right? So I really believe that 2025 is going to be a year where digital entrepreneurs, especially solopreneurs are, I think, is going to be, really mainstream next year, because the technology is available for you to work on your own where you don't have to hire anybody. And then as more countries start to facilitate digital entrepreneurs, digital nomads, right? A solopreneur is now able to become a digital nomad, live and work anywhere that they choose, and they're not responsible for anybody. They can pick up clients, and they can essentially work from anywhere in the world, and that is going to be more beneficial to them, all right? So I want to dive into, 10 reasons, give or take. I think I have about 7 to 10 reasons. We'll see how it goes, right? Why now is the best time to start learning how to become a solopreneur, okay? Especially in the Caribbean. So reason number 1 is job scarcity in smaller countries like the Caribbean. So in regions where traditional job opportunities can be limited, we know that job opportunities are limited in the Caribbean, right? We already know that. Solo entrepreneurship is a great alternative. Smaller economies face challenges such as high unemployment and limited industrial diversification. So becoming a solopreneur allows an individual to create their own opportunities, create their own income streams, circumventing the constraints of the local job market, contributing to the overall diversification of the economy. Now, basically, how many times have we spoken about on the podcast or on social media that the job market in Trinidad and Tobago is garbage, right? It's not good. You are required, especially depending on your field, but let's talk about marketing. Many of the jobs here want you to have a degree, or they want you to have a master's. And when you look at the remuneration, you're not getting paid to a point that it makes sense with all of the education and experience that you have invested into yourself to come out and make the kind of money that these jobs are offering. All right. There, I have a report from, about, it's a report, it's a salary report from the top companies in Trinidad and Tobago. And there's about 50 positions of senior managers that are, for marketing, are getting paid between $27,000 and 33,000 TT, being the highest that a manager in marketing is getting paid, right? So 33,000 TTD to USD is 4,800 US dollars, right? And that works out to be, again, that's on the high end, right? So I'm going to tell you what the yearly salary, what that works out to be. That works out to be about 58,000 USD annually, right? Now, $58,000 on an annual salary is like the starting level of any baseline digital marketer in the U.S., right? Starting salaries in the U.S. for digital marketers, let me see. I have it. I'm just pulling it up. Let me tell you. So in the U.S., if you're a digital strategist, your starting salary is at about $50,000. That's a starting salary, right? And it goes up to about $110,000 per year as a digital strategist. So our highest managers are making starter level salaries in other markets, right? And again, it's a bit problematic because you're going and getting your degrees, you're getting, especially, and I said that's the managers, right? And the jobs, the managerial jobs in the bigger companies in Trinidad and Tobago typically want you to have your master's in marketing to get those jobs, right? And there's only about 50 of those positions in Trinidad, according to the salary report that I have. So it's a very limited amount of people that even are making that kind of money. Everybody else is making, under $20,000. People in marketing are struggling to even make $15,000 TT in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And just for my international listeners, 15,000 TT, all right, 15,000 TT is 2,200 US dollars for the month. We have people with their masters barely making 2,200 US for the month, right? So getting your degrees and your masters, for me becomes questionable because I'm like, yo, when you're coming out with all this education, the jobs are not aligning. And that's also part of why the brain drain is happening, right? You're coming out with the education, but there's no real jobs to facilitate, your education, and your experience. You're gonna have to come out of the market. You really have to. So becoming a solopreneur, in a place that is a smaller economy with less job opportunities allows you now to create your own opportunities where you're no longer limited by how your earning potential is no longer limited. You can take on multiple clients, and again, if you learn how to build your brand, you can increase your value and charge more, and you're not limited to taking on clients just from the local market, right? If you are a solopreneur, you could live right here in the Caribbean. You build your brand, and you now can tap into the global economy, and you can start picking up clients from anywhere in the world. And how much you take on is completely up to you, but you also have a lot of the technology that's there to help you. So that, again, it helps you do all of the heavy lifting alongside, what you would normally do, right? So that's one of the big reasons why you want to become a solopreneur, is that the job scarcity in the Caribbean, it's limited, and this is going to allow you now to no longer rely on just looking for jobs locally. It's going to now open you up to now get jobs anywhere in the world. And again, you have a lot of flexibility and control of your time. Which brings me into point number 2, the rise of technology, the applications, and AI. So with the accessibility of all of these advanced technologies and tools, it has dramatically leveled the playing field for solopreneurs. So with the advent of affordable, sophisticated software and AI tools, tasks that would have required an entire team or a significant time investment can now be managed efficiently by individuals. This technology enables solopreneurs to streamline all of their operations, automate tasks, and focus on strategic growth areas, enhancing their productivity, but most importantly, scalability without significant capital investment. And you can also thank the fact that almost everything has now become SaaS, software as a subscription. So before, think of it like this, right? Before, if you wanted to start editing photos, when we didn't have Canva, when we didn't have Adobe Cloud, you had to spend a significant amount of money on buying the Adobe Premiere package, and that ran you a couple hundred US dollars. And if you're in the Caribbean, that might have been way too expensive for you to make that investment. But now it's easy to go as basic as let me not disrespect Canva. Canva is an amazing tool, but now you can go and take a Canva subscription, and you can do the world of editing for photos, for videos, you name it. You can do editing in Canva for a subscription. Adobe Cloud, same thing. Rather than spending the hundreds of dollars, now you could do Adobe Cloud on a subscription. There's so many other softwares that, again, you can get on a subscription, so that cuts down on needing to have that big financial investment up front. All right. You think about the AI tools that have come out, from Google Gemini to ChatGPT to Claude, you name it. There's tons of AI tools, and all of them have a free model. And again, there's so many things that you can do inside the free model. We have not scratched the surface of what these tools can do. All right. And the more we dive into it and we see how powerful the AI tools are, again, that's just going to enable us to do a whole lot more without breaking the bank. And as a solopreneur, the more you can get for free or as low cost is just going to allow you to build your practice off, get your practice off the ground. And you really don't have the excuses as to, needing this big investment to get started like before. All right. Point number 3 is the flexibility with work. Solopreneurs have an unparalleled level of flexibility compared to traditional employment. So we individuals can now set our own schedules. We get to choose who we want to work with, and then we get to decide on the scope of work that we are willing to take on. This flexibility is appealing for those seeking a better work-life balance, allowing solopreneurs to tailor their work environment and schedules to suit personal commitments and lifestyle preferences. Let me give you an example, right? Man, I've had months where I have hit 100K and I pushed, and I've had months where I've made 10K. We're talking TT, right? I've had months where I've made 5K or 10K TTD. And it was because I decided I just did not feel like working that month, or I did not feel like putting on, any pressure on myself. The fact that you can say and set your schedules, and you can say to yourself, hey, this month I want to work. And you can go out and make whatever amount of money your brand allows you to make, or what you're willing to go and push for. And then you have months where you can say, you know what, this month I'm taking it easy. And your overheads are so low as a solopreneur because now you're not worried about staff. If you are, a digital nomad and you're working from home, or not just working from home, but you're working out of your laptop, you don't necessarily need to have any overheads. You can go. You don't even have to pay for Wi-Fi if you don't want to. Bring your laptop to a coffee shop and use free Wi-Fi and work from there. You see how this allows you to really shape your lifestyle how you want it to be? So my bills, my expenses, I tell my daughter this all the time. You're my only real expense. You're my only real expense, because she's back in Toronto and it's like 5-1 when it comes to Trinidad dollars. So anytime she asks me for money, it's always like, Jesus Christmas. Especially when, she needs a substantial amount. But that really is my only real expense. And that's because as a solopreneur, you get to really dial in on what your expenses are. And you can either, you can be very frugal and get a lot done, and you can spend your money on your tools or on your workspace or wherever. And again, your solopreneur costs, your overheads can be a lot higher to match your lifestyle. But the reality is, you have the flexibility. You don't have to worry about staff, and having staff is always one of the biggest expenses that any businesses face, right? So with you being able to now tap into all of these tools, a lot of the tools having free models or a subscription service that allow you to pick and choose what your rate is for that particular software. Again, you can, when it comes to your expenses and your overheads, you can really dial it in as to how much you want your business to cost to run every single month, right? And that's a level of flexibility that is really, really important, because now when you're planning your lifestyle, it just opens up the door for you. So if I know I'm getting paid in US and in TT dollars, and you know what, man, TT costs are rising. The reason why we're talking about digital nomads and all these things in the previous episodes is because, this has been the best time to do that. Now you can say to yourself, I am going to take a digital nomad visa, or I'm going to go look into any one of these visas that all these countries are coming out with. Because again, I want to reiterate this. You don't just have to look at a digital nomad visa when you're looking at, different countries. Different countries are rolling out a wide variety of visa programs because they're looking to bring people in to boost their tourism. People are looking at the fact that it's become so costly to live in the UK, Canada, and the US, but their currencies are good. So, hey, let's open up a visa program where that person can now relocate, come to our country, bring the money that they're earning, and spend that locally. And it works because now they can start to generate some serious income from people who want to, pick up and move around and live in different countries. Again, never been easier to do that. All right. So what we have next, point number 4, kind of what I was saying before, increase global access. So the internet and all of our digital marketing tools we have available have opened up the global markets to solopreneurs, regardless of their location. This is extremely beneficial for those in the smaller countries, as it allows them to reach customers worldwide, offering their products and services that's unique to our regions, but they have global appeal. Access to a broader market can lead to increased revenue and more diverse client bases, which can cushion the local economic fluctuations. So think about all of the products that we manufacture in Trinidad as a solopreneur, all the artisans, girls like, Keron Rose with Immortal Beauty, making her own skincare products, Aviary, that's Crystal, making these products that are unique to Trinidad and Tobago that we can now export to the global market. And again, you don't necessarily need a big team to do that, all right? But it opens up the world to us because you have your websites, we have our payment gateways, we have logistics partners to get our products out to the world. So it opens you up to more local markets. Next up, this is a big one. Low startup and operational costs. So modern solopreneurs can now start and run their businesses with minimal upfront investment compared to a traditional business. So the use of digital tools reduces the need, for the physical office space, for staff, and other costly resources. Cloud-based services, freelance talent pools can significantly lower the barrier to entry and ongoing operational costs. And again, that is crucial because as long as you start to learn a skill, you can start to go in business for yourself. And, we always hear that, there are people out here that should not start a business. And while that's true, a big part of that is because there's so many moving parts to building the business, especially when it comes to managing other people and getting labor, that a lot of people are not cut out for it. But if you learn how to become a solopreneur, it becomes a lot easier because you're just managing yourself. All right. My next point is there's an increased demand for personalized services. So there's a growing customer preference for personalized services and products. Solopreneurs are uniquely positioned to provide. Operating on a smaller scale allows solopreneurs to offer bespoke solutions and maintain closer relationships with their clients, leading to higher customer satisfaction and loyalty. Now, this is huge because think about all these companies that, outsource their marketing, but they outsource it to bigger agencies, and the agencies could never give them that type of attention or that specific type of content or marketing that is not going to be generic. Agencies tend to do a lot of generic content, and I shouldn't even say content because the agencies never even do content, especially in Trinidad. They do a lot of ads, but never really content, right? And it's because content requires expertise. And when a large-scale agency has 30, 40 clients, they can't give you that attention to learn your business. But a solopreneur can learn their clientele's business to provide very unique solutions to help that business be successful. And in turn, your business becomes successful. Now, next point, agility and decision-making. What you love about solopreneurs is that they benefit from being able to make decisions without the need to navigate complex hierarchies. Typically, that happens in large organizations. This agility is critical, especially now where changes are happening at the drop of a dime almost every single day. A solopreneur is able to capitalize on trends and make pivot decisions without having to go through all the red tape and nonsense, right? So the flexibility of having a small team is great, but you see, when you're a solopreneur, you just have to, as long as you come up with the decision to make a pivot or to do something, you don't got to talk to nobody besides look yourself in the mirror and, decide whether or not you want to go through with this. And again, that is pivotal because the world is changing so fast, and the companies and the people that find the most success are the ones that are not just adaptable, but they have learned how to adapt with speed. And if you can beat everybody else to the punch and do it effectively, you're going to survive in this game. All right? Next up, and again, this point is especially for the Caribbean, and that is the gig economy. The gig economy is booming, and there are more companies looking to hire freelancers and contractors for short-term projects and very specialized tasks. This shift provides more opportunities for solopreneurs to secure work, expand their portfolios, and build networks without committing to long-term employment contracts. Now, in 2024, the gig economy is valued at approximately $455 billion globally. This clearly is a substantial market value. It reflects the growing trends of freelancing and independent work driven by technological advancements and a shift in workforce preferences to more flexible and autonomous forms of employment. And that is something that, I wish more companies in Trinidad would tap into. And not just Trinidad, but the Caribbean. We keep on talking about hiring local, but the reality is your local teams might not have, people here locally might not have the required expertise that you need. And your organization suffers because you don't have access to the skill sets. And if organizations learn how to start tapping into freelancers or remote workers from anywhere in the world and tapping into that global talent base, they can now start to really build out their companies a lot better. But again, that doesn't mean that people here in Trinidad lose out, because you can participate in the global economy as well. Are you willing to learn the necessary skills that the world are looking for? If you are willing to learn any one of the thousands of skills that are in demand in today's market, you are not limited to Trinidad. So whenever I hear people complaining about the local job market, I get it. The local job market is ass. There's almost no jobs that I see that I would apply for, not whether it is a regular job, not senior manager. There's no job that I see here that I would apply for because they're just not attractive, right? And the amount of things they want you to do, it's never worth the money. And then, like I said, when you're looking at what they want qualification-wise, with the amount of money they're willing to pay in respective of that, again, it's never worth it to me. I really believe, and the more people I talk to, the job market's not good. But again, that does not mean that you don't have opportunities. And this is where the mindset shift has to happen. Because if you're one of those people that's looking around and saying, oh my God, the job market is crap, I can't get no job, I did all of this upskilling and got my degrees, did specialized certifications, and I can't get jobs, then it's up to you now to start making that pivot, to start figuring out, can I take these skills and can I now shop my skills on the global market? And again, you don't necessarily have to go and try to find a job that's going to bring you in and give you a visa. Remember, a lot of these companies are trying to get away from that because it's costly. It's costly to import you. It's costly to give you a work permit. Like, it's costly and it's time consuming to do all of these things. So more and more and more companies are trying to figure out how to get what they need from remote workers and people who are able to now work from anywhere in the world and not necessarily have to come to their country. And if they can get a independent contractor or a solopreneur, that works out even better than going to than hiring a company from another country, right? Because it's obviously going to be more costs and more things involved to get that done. It's done when it's needed, but again, I say solopreneurs are being heavily sought after because it's attractive for companies around the world who need to get specialized things done, and they don't want to hire somebody locally. So let's tap into the global talent pool, and let's see what we can get. So stop just looking at the jobs locally and complaining. You got to figure out, can I take these skills that I have? Can I take my knowledge, my education, and can I now put that on the international stage? And, can I tap into remote opportunities and work for companies remotely, right? I have, and and again, it's a mindset shift that has to happen. And then you have, when you change that mindset with how you view work, because if your view of work as an employee, forget the employers, right? The employers are the employers. Whether they change or not, up to them. Whether they come, they go, they die, doesn't matter. But you as the employee are not limited, right? In 2024, you, the person with the skill set, is not limited. You have to have that mindset shift to say, I don't like what I see in the local job market. Okay, let me learn how can I put myself on the global scale, and how can I tap into the global talent, not talent pool, but the global pool of work. How can I get jobs from anywhere in the world? And again, you don't need to get a lot of these, you don't need to get a ton of clients. You're going to have clients that have a currency that's good. If somebody comes to you right now and says, we're going to pay you $1,500 US, right? And that might be pocket change to them, because if they were to find somebody in their local market, they might have had to pay double or triple. But they throw out $1,500 for the same job, and you're in a smaller market where that money goes way further, and all of a sudden is way more money than local companies are paying for you. Then you're good, and you're working remote. So it all balances out, right? It all balances out. And that's where that mindset shift has to happen with how you view work. You can't view work as looking at the local job market and applying like how you've been taught to apply. That mindset shift has to happen where you're now saying to yourself, I'm no longer limited to jobs in my home country. I can work from anywhere. But you need to figure that out. You need first of all, you need to have that skill that can translate from you working from anywhere. My brother right now is finishing up his CPAs to become a chartered accountant. And I just keep on telling him, bro, you got to figure out, how do I be a remote accountant? Because if you're a remote accountant, he's back in Toronto, and he already knows. He's like, bro, I might not ever be able to own a home with the cost of living in Toronto. It might not ever be a reality. So my advice to him is, you got to start learning how to be a remote accountant, because now if you can be a remote accountant, right, bro, we can go and live it up in Bali. We can go buy a home. There are people building homes in Bali for frigging $80,000 US, building homes in Bali, right? World's a big place now, and it gives us opportunities to do some amazing things that we have never been able to do. And that, I'm going to round out my last point, because we're coming up to the 1 hour mark. But my last point is, the empowerment you get through self-management. So being a solopreneur encourages self-reliance and personal growth. Managing every aspect of a business can be incredibly empowering and it forces solopreneurs to develop a wide range of skills, from financial management to customer service to marketing, you name it. The broad skill set not only enhances personal capabilities, but also increases the marketability of the solopreneur in various professional scenarios. So, those are my reasons why now is the best time to be a solopreneur, especially in the Caribbean. The job market in the region is not that great. People are complaining about the lack of opportunities, the lack of money, and again, you're doing all this education to come out and make scraps, right? This isn't like the US or the UK where the pay might not be what you want, but there's still a wide variety of opportunities, and there's still roles that are created that match the skill sets that you have. The reality is that you're going to get education because maybe you took an online school, maybe you flew out, you did your degree in another country, and now you've come back, and there's just no opportunity for what you were trying to do here. All right? So we have the beautiful advantage of living in the Caribbean where things are a bit more lax, sunny every day for the most part. You can go hit a beach, you get the Caribbean lifestyle. But one of the big negatives is the job market. But that's only if you're looking at jobs and work from a traditional sense. The minute you start to walk down that path of getting that paradigm shift to how you view work, that opens you up to the world of work. And that's what truly has to happen now if you really want to find success in 2024 and beyond. The world, the entire world in 2024 is bringing out new visa programs, and it's happening at a ridiculous rate. The more research I've done over the past couple of weeks in terms of different countries, cost of living, visas, how do you become a resident, how do you become a digital nomad and be able to, and again, I say you don't have to go specifically for a digital nomad visa. There's a lot of different visas out there. We're just talking about how can I go and live in another country and work out of my laptop, right? There's so many outlets and pathways to do that that have never been seen before. And the world is starting to embrace digital nomads, people who are working for clients around the world or working for companies around the world and earning their money but living in other countries, all right? And I really believe 2025 is gonna be a major year because 2024 visas are rolling out and people are still trying to learn what these new visas entail and how to do it and how to execute and whatnot. But 2025, I mean, we're halfway done through 2024. 2025 is going to be a big year. It's really going to be a year of the digipreneurs, the digital entrepreneurs, the solopreneurs, and the digital nomads. All right. So, yeah, that's it from me in today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you're listening from Spotify, don't forget to rate the podcast. If you're listening from Apple Podcasts, don't forget to rate the podcast. And if you really enjoyed today's episode, please drop a review. I don't ask for much, but the reviews help continue to grow the Digipreneur family all across the world and also helps me to ensure that we're keeping the quality of the content good. Your feedback is always greatly appreciated. Don't forget you can check out the KeronRose.com website to learn more about building your digital presence and monetizing your platforms. Stay up to date on the podcast by checking out the Digipreneur FM website. And last but not least, follow me across social media at KeronRosc on all social media platforms. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everybody. Love y'all. See y'all on the next one, and take care.
You've been listening to the Digiboss, Keron Rose. We hope your notepad was filled after this episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. The learning doesn't stop, folks. And to make sure you don't miss any gems from the Digiboss, go over and follow him on all social media platforms at Keron Rose. Folks, don't just sit there with a notepad. We need you to implement at least one thing into your business before the next episode. That's the only way your business levels up. Thanks for listening to Digipreneur FM. Now go be great.